Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome into the Vegas Insider YouTube channel, the Daily Insider. I am Thom Cunningham. Today, we're going to be going over UFC 263, a absolute huge event going on this Saturday. And to help us prepare and make the best bets, go through all the markets and make top wagers, we have our UFC combat sports betting expert here with us from VI, Adam Lykkesteen. Adam, how's it going? Are you ready for Saturday's event?
I'm extremely ready. This betting card is an absolute gold mine filled with betting opportunities, so I can't wait to get into it.
And some of those betting opportunities, I'm sure, are going to come from the main event. This is a rematch between Israel Adesanya and taking on Marvin Vettori. Adesanya is one of the biggest names in UFC right now, if not the biggest name right now. Is this the one fight you're looking forward to more than any other for Saturday?
Probably among others. I think the Diaz fight. I mean, Nate Diaz is always fun to watch, but aside from that one, I think the main event is going to be extremely fun. Yes.
And yeah, as you just mentioned, the co-main event is Leon Edwards taking on Nate Diaz. Well, that's actually not the co-main event; it's on the main card. The co-main event,
Yeah.
is Edison Figueiredo taking on Brandon Moreno. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of big names here. I'm looking at Paul Craig's fighting, Belal Muhammad is fighting, Drew Dober, Eric Anders. I mean, there's a ton of big names on this card. Let's start with the prelims though before we get into the main card right now. There's a ton of prelim fights. Which one are you looking forward to the most? Not on the main card, but before we get to the 10 o'clock pay-per-view, which fight do you think is going to be the best fight? Not from a betting perspective, one that you're just looking forward to.
I probably have to say Hakeem Dawodu. I can't pronounce his last name, against the unbeaten Movsar Evloev. He's an undefeated Russian guy. I just think it's a really fun matchup between two extremely game opponents in the featherweight or lightweight division. Yeah, it's going to be an absolute banger. It's probably going to be potential fight of the night, if you ask me.
Is there a best bet from the prelim card that you do like? It might not be this fight that you just mentioned, but I see a lot. I see Chase Hooper's fighting as well. Those odds are somewhat short, close to even. What on the prelim card do you think stands out the most for a best bet?
I actually think it's the Hakeem Dawodu against Evloev. I think Hakeem is way too big of a dog. He's like plus 200. It should be closer to a pick 'em, but as usual with the casual fan base of MMA, the undefeated fighters, they tend to be just like overhyped, and all the money's coming in on that side. So I think it's a good spot to take advantage of the plus money on the underdog.
What about the Chase Hooper Steven Peterson fight? I see Peterson's minus 118, Hooper is minus 106. So it's basically split. Is there conviction in that fight? Do you have a best bet there? Is that one because the odds are so short and so close to each other that you would just feel comfortable passing on?
I'd say from what I've watched of the tape I've watched on Chase Hooper, I think he is still very, very green in his skill set. And I think he is a fighter that because now he's at the point in his career where he's had a few wins and he's stepping up in competition, in the level of competition. So I think you need to fade him, actually. So in that fight, I'd probably go with Steven Peterson for value reasons. Just because I think Hooper is like in like 22 or 21 or something. He's very, very young, and I think he has a long learning curve ahead of him before he can hang with the top dogs in the biggest MMA promotion in the world. So I would probably fade Chase in that fight.
Eric Anders, he's going to be taking on Darren Stewart. Again, two names that I'm sure a lot of people know, even if you're not a diehard MMA fan. I'm sure you've heard of these names in some sort of media stream outlet, some way, shape, or form. What is your take on this? I look Eric Anders. He is the favorite right now, not by much, minus 150. Darren Stewart is the underdog, plus 120. Do you agree with those odds? And who's your best bet there?
This is totally for me. This is totally dog or pass. Darren Stewart. This is actually a rematch. The first one was a no contest. I do believe it was a illegal knee by Anders. But just, I mean, the first fight was inconclusive, so we really can't say who's the better fighter, which means that, in my opinion, it should be a pick'em fight. So, I mean, for that reason, I think this is just a dogger pass. Darren Stewart, he didn't look like he was out of his depth in the first fight, so I think that he can definitely get it done here.
Now I'm looking at Drew Dober versus Brad Brittle, and I see here that Drew Dober is the favorite. Drew Dober, he usually sees matches end. Looking at his recent results, he's seen 5 straight fights with a finished result. 3 of his last 4 fights have actually ended with a knockout or a TKO, and he won those 3 fights. Then I look at Brad Riddle, 3 straight fights he's won by decision. So what do you think here? It does seem that you have Brad Riddle, who tends to lean towards the points, and then Drew Dober, who really doesn't care about the points. All his matches end before the final bell rings. Whether he wins or lose, it seems that he is a finished result machine. What's your take on this fight and your best bet for Dober versus Riddle?
For this fight, I probably wouldn't go with a head-to-head pick. I would probably look at the distance prop. I think there's actually some plus money on that. I think that's valuable. Both guys are heavy hitters, even though Riddle, he's very young. His career hasn't really gotten the opportunity yet to show that he can finish fights. But he is heavy-handed, very, very good striker. Both fighters are good strikers. But I would say that if you're leaning towards Riddle, I think you have to be cautious because I think this might be his 4th UFC outing. There is a learning curve when you're like starting out in the UFC. And it is in your 4th, 5th, or 6th fight that you tend to move up in competition level. And I think this is that move up for Riddle, because Dober is a lot more high level than the guys he's been facing. So I think Dober is the rightful favorite, but I would probably still look to the distance prop for this one.
Okay.
No, sorry, inside the distance prop.
Inside the distance. Okay. Yeah. Now, we also have another fight between Paul Craig and Jamal Hill that might finish inside the distance. And the reason I say that is because the odds for this fight to end before the final bell is -278. And I think the reason those odds are so high is because Paul Craig has failed to go the distance in 18 of his last 19 fights. What is your take on this fight and your best Paul Craig versus Hill?
This is kind of a fight where, I mean, we got the young up and coming guy, Jamal Hill, big hype behind him, and this is reflected in his odds. He's very, very juiced at the moment. I would probably just stay away from this fight, to be honest. But if I were gun to my head to put a bet on this fight, I would probably say the decision prop. The fight goes the distance, just because going against the narrative is sometimes valuable. But for me, I think this is just sit back and enjoy, because it could go either way, I think.
That makes sense. And it is the first fight of the main card, I do believe, Craig versus Hill. So sometimes the best bet is the one you don't make. So just sit back and enjoy the first fight before spending all your money on these next 4 fights. Coming up next, we have Demian Maia taking on Belal Muhammad. Now, these are 2 names that I think a lot of people are familiar with. And you see Muhammad, he is the favorite right now. He is a little bit above 200, -230. And just looking at some of the stats here, Muhammad, he has seen 9 UFC fights in a row go the distance, but he has also won 7 straight as the favorite, which he is against Maia. So what is your take on this main card fight?
Well, now we're getting into the good stuff. I actually immediately bet this line on Belal Muhammad as the favorite when I saw it, because it's just one of those fights where you got the young guy. I think he's like over a decade younger than Maia, established in the UFC, lots of fights for the UFC, better strike differential, which means he lands more and absorbs less compared to Maia. And Maia, at this stage in his career, I mean, nothing but respect for the guy, but he's sort of a one-trick pony where if he can't really get you to the ground and submit you, he's going to lose. And I do believe he was knocked out pretty viciously in his last fight against Gilbert Burns.
Yep.
So just like about the advantages I was talking about before, like big age difference here. Bilal is much younger. Mayan is in his 40s. Yeah, he's the way more well-rounded fighter, and I immediately bet this fight when it opened.
Yeah, and if anyone is out there looking for a Maya trend that they just want to go off of, he has actually won 3 straight fights when taking on an American opponent. Ben Askren was his last win, but to your point, Adam, he's had 3 wins over his last 6 fights. 2 of those 3 have been won by a submission. He's lost.
Well, look at that.
Yeah, he's lost with a knockout. He's lost 2 by decision. So yeah, I think there is absolutely something to look in that regard there. All right, let's move on now. We have Leon Edwards taking on Nate Diaz. I know you're pretty excited for this one, as mentioned earlier, but the odds are overwhelmingly in Leon Edwards' corner. He's about a -670 favorite in this fight. Is this one that how do you bet this fight with such high odds on the favorite? Do you take a chance on the +450 underdog Nate Diaz? Do you look into a different market, or do you just avoid this fight in general?
This is for me just like a straight pick on. Oh, sorry, I interrupted you, but yeah, this is totally just Nate Diaz or pass. And I actually also sprinkled a little money on Nate Diaz here, just because Edwards coming in on a big win streak. He has a lot of hype behind him, and I don't think the skill gap is as big as the odds indicate, really. And Diaz has shown throughout his very long UFC career to consistently be a live dog. We saw it against McGregor. In the first fight, he was like a very similar to this very big underdog. This guy is just like, he's so game. He doesn't care about the betting line. He doesn't care that people are picking against him. He just shows up to fight. And I think that at least, I think I got him at +400. That's, come on. How can you not place a bet on Diaz at those odds?
Yeah, I like that. And if you, for some reason, are looking for something closer, smaller odds that's not so substantial, here's a little tidbit. Leon Edwards, 6 of his last 7 fights in the UFC have gone the distance when he is the favorite, which he is in this fight. And I look at the odds for whether the fight will go the distance or not. Yes, -110, no, -120. So it's very much split. Do you fancy either of those 2 bets? Do you have an opinion on whether this fight will go the distance or not?
It's tough, right? Because in Nate's last outing, he fought Masvidal, and it just seemed like, the guy has a lot of scar tissue. He is known for taking shots, him and his brother, and he just cuts up so easily that I feel like if he starts eating this big bombs from Edwards, I think, he could easily just cut open, and the doctor will step in again and just stop the fight.
Yeah.
So that's what's keeping me off the decision, the distance prop, because the guy just cuts up so easily. And also, Nate can finish fights. He's not a decision machine by any means. So if he gets Leon on the fence in the clinch, gets him on the ground, he's a submission whiz. He knows his stuff on the ground.
That's probably why you see the odds so tight, is because of that reason there. All right, great stuff. Now we move to the co-main event here, the Deiveson Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno fight. I think this is going to be a really good fight. The odds makers have Figueiredo at -230 as the favorite. He has won 5 of his last 6 fights. He has also won 3 of his last 4 by submission when he is the favorite, which he is against Brandon Moreno. So what are your thoughts on this fight? Do you like Figueiredo as the favorite? Do you like Moreno as the underdog? Or is there a different market that we haven't touched on that you fancy?
For this one, I'm looking at the distance prop again, because the first fight did go the distance. And it seems like, these odds, it seems like people are forgetting that they're flyweights. In the flyweight division, fights tend to go the distance more often than not. So, and also this is a championship fight where fights tend to go the distance too. So those two, riding on those 2 statistics alone, I think the decision, the distance prop is definitely a good play. And I mean, the narrative was in the first fight that Figueiredo was just like this monster that nobody could take his shots. I mean, Moreno has a hell of a chin, and he took every shot that the champ threw at him, and actually landed some of his own. And Davison took his shots as well. So just seems like they can take each other's shots. And on the ground, it was pretty much even. So I fancied this fight to go the distance again, definitely.
Oh, there's plus value there too. It's plus
Mm.
100 to go the distance. So maybe look into that regard as well. To the other, I'm going to play devil's advocate on that. Deiveson Figueiredo, 4 of his last 5 UFC fights have failed to go beyond round 2. But to your point, this is a championship fight, and these two fighters absolutely can absorb the blows that they dish out to one another. It does seem when it's a 5-rounder pay-per-view, maybe not even a fight night, but a pay-per-view, the adrenaline really sinks in for these guys, and they tend to go further in a fight. Now the main event, I don't know if that's going to hold true or not, because we've already seen these two guys fight already in the past. So before we dive into the main event numbers and the odds and the trends and whatnot, what was your take on their first fight, and do you see anything from their first encounter carrying over into Saturday's rematch?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, let's just put the controversy to rest. I mean, Adesanya won that fight 2-1, easy. And he totally, I mean, Vettori has nothing for him on the feet. He needs to get this fight to the ground and just like lay and pray until the final horn goes off to win. That's very, very tough against a guy like Adesanya. First of all, he's very hard to take down. Once you have him down, he's active off his back. He's going for submissions and then just like trying very hard to get up. I think this is a fight that is very, very hard for Marvin Vettori to win, based on the fact that Adesanya has that 6-inch reach advantage that also came in handy the first time. And I think Adesanya has gotten even better. And something that I also like to say is I do believe that Adesanya, when he's in his own division, the middleweight division, I think he's in the John Jones category. I mean, the guy you just never want to bet against. So, I mean, I'm all over Adesanya here. And the odds, I mean, he opened almost the same odds-wise as in the first fight, which I think is pretty weird since he's been on a very dominant run as champion. So I think the value is on the champion here.
Yeah, and to your middleweight point, Adesanya, he's actually won 9 straight middleweight fights. So very comfortable in that class. Now you look at Marvin Vettori's betting trend here. He has gone the distance in 8 of 9 fights. Do you see this fight going the distance?
Absolutely, and I think the if you think the Adesanya head-to-head is a bit too low or a bit too pricey, I think the Adesanya by decision prop is a good way to go.
And looking at that, you can get him. So if you were to take Adesanya straight up, that's -250. If you want to take by decision, that's +140. So there's already a better price tag if you are to go to the winning method market over the straight up pick 'em. All right, so now we get to the fun one and dones. I'll just give you a thing, and you just give me your best, whatever it might be. So here we go. This is off the cusp, improv, putting you on the spot here, Adam. Your favorite to fade on Saturday of all the fights, could be early prelims, it could be the main card. Who are you looking at that has minus value that you are going to warn bettors stay away from him or her?
I'll say Leon Edwards. I mean, we covered it a bit earlier, but I just feel like his odds, I mean, I think maybe a little bit of money has been coming in on Nate, but still, I mean, he's in the like Amanda Nunes odds range, which is like crazy because, I mean, he has lost. It's not like the guy's unbeaten. He was dominated by Kamaru Usman, and he's lost to lesser fighters, really. And this run, he's been on this win streak. I mean, he had tough fights with Donald Cerrone. He dropped 2 rounds to Donald Cerrone. I mean, if he can drop 2 rounds to Donald Cerrone, he can drop 2 or 3 rounds to Nate Diaz. So I would say be very, very cautious with betting on Edwards at those odds.
What fight are you staying away from? Not necessarily favorite, but which fight are there two fighters where you have no idea, you know what, I'm not touching that. I want nothing to do with that. The odds don't look good. The trends don't look good. What fight are you warning bettors to stay away from, regardless of what they feel about it?
Oh, I'd probably go back to the Chase Hooper fight, actually. Just because I know I said that Peterson is the value play out of the two, but I still feel like Hooper is at an age where he can come in and just be way better than the last time we saw him, because he's so young and he's improving so much. I mean, I think the guy's like my age, right? It's just very hard to like pinpoint exactly where he is skill wise. So yeah, it's tough to say. I'll probably say that one and stay away from that one. Yeah.
You have the same age, but you need to grow that hair out like Chase Hooper. All right, last one, and then I'll leave you on that. Your best bet for UFC 263. It could be any fight, it could be any market. What is your one bet that you are recommending people should watch on Saturday?
I'll probably, I mean, we didn't touch on it actually, but Calderwood versus Murphy. I think this fight will go the distance. Both girls are not really known for finishes, and they have never been finished. And that's a little insight that I've been working on actually, in fights where both fighters have over 5 UFC fights and never been finished in the lower weight classes. This is a women's, I think it's flyweight fight. The fight will go the distance like upwards of 80% of the time. So I think this is this distance prop is a value play here.
Okay. And yeah, I'm looking at some of the trends. Calderwood, she's seen the fight go the distance in 4 of her last 5 professional fights overall. So yeah, definitely some good numbers there. And then when you look at Lauren Murphy's betting trends, she has seen her fights go the distance in 5 of 7 professional fights. That dates all the way back to 2016. Awesome stuff. Adam, is there any, you want to tell everyone where to find your work, what you're working on, and your your combat sports betting expertise, where people can find all that at?
Sure thing. You guys can check me out at Vegas Insider. I upload tons of different stuff, odds analysis, best bets, predictions, and there's a pick package that you can also check out if you're interested in that sort of thing. But yeah, you can also check me out. I do some stuff here with Thom on YouTube, of course, and good luck with your bets.
Thank you. And I'm of course, Adam's talking to everyone listening here with your bets. Good luck there. But I also wanted to bring up that Adam, now he had brought up the betting analysts for UFC 263. Adam actually, he kind of goes into the distant future a little bit. He's got 264 odds up as well, breaking down the main card for 264. So Adam is always ahead of the curve. Definitely want to check out his stuff. Man knows what he's talking about. Adam, thank you so much for coming on, and good luck with your bets on Saturday.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Thom.
Oh, anytime. And just want to remind everyone out there to like, subscribe to our Vegas Insider YouTube channel and this video as well. And again, check out all of Adam's content on UFC. He's got odds analysis, picks, and predictions for this weekend. And you definitely want to check that out. But for Adam, I'm Thom. Thank you all so much for tuning in and listening. Go out there, make some money, make some good bets this weekend. Until next time, we'll see you.